Today we're going to finish installing the Megasquirt. Will it start? In the last episode, we removed the factory ECU, mounted our Megasquirt, and installed our wideband controller. If you haven't seen that episode yet, I'd highly recommend watching it first. I'll link it here. Today we're going to remove the mass airflow sensor, switch to an NB style throttle body, and create a custom intake. Then we'll connect our laptop to the Megasquirt, get our base map loaded, and see if we can get this bad boy started. We're going to start by removing the mass airflow sensor. Why are we removing it? Well, the mass airflow sensor presents a pretty large obstruction to the intake, so removing it is probably worth at least a few horsepower. It'll also clean up the engine bay. The Megasquirt no longer needs it, so we'll be replacing it with an intake air temperature sensor. The factory harness already provides the connections we need, so we'll be creating a jumper harness and plugging that directly into the factory harness. Now we're going to swap out the old NA throttle body for an NB throttle body. NB throttle bodies have an internally routed idle air control valve, and that's going to make our lives a lot easier when we create our custom intake. We'll no longer have to route a hose from the throttle body to the intake. It's pretty simple. All we need to do is swap out the pigtails for the TPS and the idle air control valve, and then make a few changes in the Megasquirt. We have the pigtail swap for the throttle body. The IACV was very easy as it's not polarity sensitive. However, I had a problem finding the pinouts for the TPS. However, I did include those here. I also included both of the connectors that I used in the description below. Let's get the new throttle body installed and then we'll start working on a custom intake. Alright, so we finally have the throttle body on, and I have a few words of wisdom for you if you're doing this yourself. Number one, don't get in a rush like I did and cut the coolant lines running to the throttle body. Replacing the one that goes underneath the intake manifold is a real pain. Trust me, my square jar probably has enough for another project now. And number two, one of the bolts is different for the NB throttle body. You'll need to go pick up an M8 by 60mm bolt. I would suggest a flange head if you're doing this. Now let's get started with a custom intake. Let me show you what I'm thinking for the intake. I'm going to start off with a tube that goes from the throttle body to the driver's side of the car into an air box with a heat shield. This is something that probably won't work if you have power steering, but for now that's where I'm going to start. Later on I might try a few different variants, but that's where we're going to go for now. Let's get started. So this is what we came up with. It's a simple design, but I think it'll do the job for now. Let's get the base tune loaded and see if we can get this bad boy started.
All right, so I'm in the car with a laptop. Now the first thing we need to do is connect our laptop to the Megasquirt using a serial adapter. The next thing we're gonna do is turn the car on to the on position, but don't crank it. All right, now we need to open Tuner Studio, and if this is the first time that you've used Tuner Studio, you'll need to create a new project and detect your ECU. I've already got my project created, so I'll go ahead and open it. Now that I have Tuner Studio loaded and connected to the Megasquirt, I'll need to load my base tune. These can be found on DIY Auto-Tune's website. All right, now I've got my base tune loaded. There's still a few things I still have left to do. The first thing I need to do is recalibrate the TPS since we changed out the throttle body. All right, now that we have the TPS recalibrated, the next thing we need to do is make some updates to the IACV. You make changes to the IACV by going up to Start Idle and then going down to your various idle settings. What we're gonna do here is simply copy the NB settings that I was able to get from DIY Auto-Tune's website. All right, the moment of truth. Let's see if she'll start.
One eternity later.
We're back. All right, I think I got most of my issues resolved. The first issue that I discovered was a loose pin on the idle air control valve harness, so we weren't getting any control over our idle. Then after working for quite some time trying to tweak the idle settings, I discovered that I was running really lean. So I think I've got everything worked out. Let's see if she'll start now. That's a lot better. The ECU's installed, we got our wideband working, we swapped out the throttle body, and we removed the mass airflow sensor. We even got it running in idling. There's still a few things we have left to do. I've got to do some tuning, and I've got to find a more permanent solution for mounting the wideband controller, but I think I'll leave that for another video. All in all, the ECU installation was pretty simple. The 14.7 Spartan Lite wideband controller is truly the easy button if you don't need an external AFR gauge, especially if you wire it into the factory O2 harness. This was my first time doing anything like this, so I'm sure if I can do it, you can do it too. Like always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. One of the next things we're going to do is look for a solid VVT motor for an engine swap. We've got a lot more planned, so stay tuned.